Well, yes, awesome. So as Jacqueline said, my name is Catherine Nanninga, and I am a mom of 3, married to a farmer, and I live out in central Alberta. And yeah, I've been using Young Living for about 3.5 years, and just have had such positive experiences with it that I've just started really sharing. This really is my passion, sharing how it's helped me to support my health and the health of my little ones, and the whole family, really. And yeah, I thank you all so much for coming out and coming to listen. And I hope that you will be blessed by what I have to share with you this evening. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. So I am, like I said, I'm a mom. I'm not a doctor. This presentation is not intended to prescribe, cure, treat, any of that stuff. Can you guys see this okay? Do we want one of these lights off? Would that help? Yeah, you can certainly do that if that's going to help a little bit. So the information I'm sharing with you tonight is information that I have compiled over the last 3 or so years. It is my own research and personal experience. So it really is informational purposes only. But before we get started, I would love to get a feel for what you guys are hoping to get out of this evening. In order to do that, I do need a little bit of help from you. If you don't want to participate, that's fine, but then you're not allowed to complain later on. So, awesome, thank you. I heard you say deal, and I'm hoping everybody else is on board. So first of all, put up your hand if you are an information junkie. Do you have any information junkie? Okay, we got a couple of those. To elaborate, so if you like charts, details, facts, research, numbers, graphs, lists, yeah, so we had a couple of those. And I see a few little nods, some shy information junkies, okay. Please put up your hand if that list just bored you to tears and you were here to have some fun. Okay, good, yeah, party animals, good, I knew there'd be a few of those. Perfect. And please put up your hand if you like sappy stories and pretty pictures. Perhaps you've read my blog and are here because you could relate to my story and wanted to connect. Any of those? Couple of those? Yeah. So you're my bleeding heart. Was that you do like? Okay, perfect. Sappy stories it is. Great. So I think we have something for everyone. Party animals, please do not give up on me when I'm taking care of the information junkies. And bleeding hearts, I love you and I'm so happy you're here. So yes, I do want to thank you so much for coming out and hearing my story. I'm super excited to have the opportunity to share with you all my story and how I fell in love with Young Living and why I would get on a plane and fly across Canada to share it. My Young Living journey began 3 years ago, shortly after my second child was born. I had struggled emotionally throughout my pregnancy, but hoped I would get back on track once my baby was born. This unfortunately did not happen, and I was left wondering, now what? I knew I felt off, but I wasn't sure how off I was, and what measures needed to be taken to get me back on, feeling like myself again. So I began looking for solutions. Along the way, I found that the answers I was looking for were not simple. For me, it wasn't just a matter of taking a pill and away we go. I discovered that I needed to take an approach that addressed physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual concerns. Tonight, I'm going to try and share with you what I've learned in the last 3 years that has helped me, and I'm hopeful that it may be helpful to you as well. In the dark times, my greatest desire was simply to be the best mother and wife that I could be. My greatest disappointment was when I would reach the end of myself and I knew I wasn't living the life God intended for me. I kept trying to reach deep down inside to find the strength to move forward. There's that, that school of thought, it's just deep inside. You keep, reach down, and I kept reaching and finding empty. And that's where this whole empty cup concept comes from. I discovered that I needed to look beyond myself. When I did that, I discovered a God who was bigger than any of the battles I was fighting, and in the midst of it all, cared about even the smallest detail of my life. That statement takes a second to express, but I believe it takes a lifetime to comprehend. So I will say it again. I discovered a God who was bigger than my biggest fears, yet took the time to care for my every need. I learned to bring everything to him. I remember very specifically, it was like 2 a.m. and my baby was upset and I didn't know what was going on, and I just stopped for a minute and I was like, okay, he says he cares about these things too. And so I just stopped, and not like God said, use thieves, but sometimes it's that simple. And I kind of realized, you know what, God gave me these tools that I can use. And I was like, oh yeah, thank you for just these little solutions along the way. So I learned to bring everything to him. The big things were often easy to bring. They were obviously too big for me to handle. I had no choice but to leave them for him to manage. But I often try, even now sometimes, to manage the small things. The trouble is, 1,000 small things is a huge burden, and I'm learning to give the small things to him too. I have discovered that he cares just as much for the small things as the big things. And I believe that he wants us to call on him for those things too, so that he can bless us with his grace. So now imagine my surprise when God answered my prayers in a pretty smelling box that could be delivered to me every month. I questioned his answer for some time. I could not comprehend that God would want me to get involved in some multi-level corporation. I mean, most of my struggles were emotional and spiritual, weren't they? Shouldn't I just pray harder? I believed God could take the pain away and make my life easy if he wanted to. I just didn't understand why he wouldn't want to. After all, he cared about me and wanted to take care of me, right? Then one day an answer came that I wasn't expecting, and the answer was, it's not about you. And that did just hit me in the head one time. It's not about you. I didn't know at the time exactly what that would mean for my life, but it was all I needed to keep moving forward. It was a very peaceful thing for me to accept that, okay, this isn't just about me. I'm not just experiencing this stuff for my own, I didn't even know. It was a very peaceful thought that it wasn't just about me. And I guess maybe somehow I knew that maybe I'd be sharing and my experiences would be beneficial to other people somehow. So fast forward 3 years, and here I am in front of you this evening. And I believe God brought all of you here on purpose. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the solutions to all of your problems, they are in those pretty oils on the screen. They aren't. But these are some amazing tools that have been such a gift, and I'm honored to be able to share that gift with you. So we're going to grab your little wellness plan booklet. And I'm just going to turn to page 1. And we're just going to look through that for a minute. So the idea is that, like, I gave you the materials for 1 week, and I really encourage, we're going to actually make a bit of a plan for filling our cups. And so there's 1 week worth of material, but I would encourage you, if you're liking it, to try and do it for 3 weeks, because that's typically what it takes to kind of start a good habit. So the intention for this first week is to establish simple and attainable goals, a plan of action that will get you moving in the right direction. And I love this quote from Jim Rohn: you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. So imagine you're headed straight down this path, and you look down to the end of the path and you don't like where you're headed. That was me. I didn't know what was going on. I knew I wasn't quite right, and I looked down the end and I did not like where I was headed. And it's scary because you feel like you need to make these huge drastic changes in order for life to get, in a different direction. But really, the truth is, you just need to make a slight shift. And if you can make a slight shift, you start heading in a different direction. You're going to go somewhere totally different. And so it doesn't have to be as big and scary as we think it is sometimes. So the first thing that we need to do when making a plan to be well is spend some time thinking about why we want to be well. What is our motivation to be well? Of course, we want to look and feel great, But if that was motivation enough, we would all take really good care of ourselves and look and feel great. Simply wanting something doesn't motivate us. So what's going to come up on the screen is, this is actually something that I put together. I'm a visual person. I like to, even like when I tell stories, like I said, even a little image of the trip or the journey. I like visuals, and so this is something that I had put together, just some pictures. This one's hard to see. This is my daughter at the art gallery in Edmonton. We happened there one day, totally by accident, and it worked out fun. It worked out well. It was just her, me, and my mom, and so we went to the gallery. And she wants to be an artist, and she's 6 years old, so sure, be an artist. And I kind of love that. That's what she wants to do. I'm like, sure, whatever, go for it. So we went and checked out the art gallery, and apparently some things were not that exciting, but it was kind of a cool experience. Yeah, these are just some pictures from this summer. Some of the other ones are of us just being on the boat. We were blessed enough to be able to just buy a nice small little e-boat this summer, and we spent a lot of time out there, and that just really was my happy place. And so this is kind of my vision. When I picture us happy, me happy, us well, this is something that I think about. I printed this and stuff it on my fridge, and it looks complicated. I slapped some pictures on Microsoft Word and wrote some words on it and put them in different fonts. It really was complicated. You could just do this, like grabbing pictures, stick them on a paper, and write something on it. So it really doesn't have to be complicated. But just something to refocus you when you're just not feeling that motivated, when you just don't feel like doing what you know what you should do, when you are tired and exhausted and miserable. Having some inspiration. And some of these were words and verses, some of these were words just from the positive things that I've been listening to. Again, just to refocus. So our reasons why we want to be well will refocus us when we get distracted. Are tempted to make excuses or simply don't feel like making healthy choices. So this is a bit of my focus. I want to be well for my family. I want my family to admire me, to be inspired by me, and more importantly, to feel loved and blessed by me. More recently, a word that just really speaks to me is safe place. I want to be a safe place for my family. And in order for that to happen, I need to be well. I can't be depressed and anxious and stressed out and unhealthy. So that's my focus. So for many years, I've allowed my stuff to be an excuse to be unwell. There's stuff going on, and you can always find a reason to be tired or grumpy. I didn't get enough sleep, or this person's stressing me out, or this happened 20 years ago. There's always an excuse to be grumpy. So I can always find a reason not to take care of myself. But in 10, 20, or 30 plus years, I want my family to look at those reasons as things I overcame rather than good excuses for my unhealthy habits and behaviors. So I'd encourage you certainly don't have to write down a big story right now, but this is something that you can take home and work on if you feel so inclined. But some questions to get you thinking is, what is your focus? Why do you desire to be well? And another thought I had this morning on the plane when I was coming down and looking at this was, what do you want to overcome? Because there certainly are obstacles in our lives that can certainly stop us. And the idea of overcoming really just excites me. I used to look at these things as barriers and things that would stop me. And as I've grown and become stronger, realizing that I can overcome these things, and that's exciting for me. And I'm excited to be able to teach my children to overcome, whatever life throws at them. So next we will look at your vision, and I've kind of blurred them together. This I said was kind of my focus. This is the vision. The focus is why. So why I just want to be well for my family. This is the vision of what that looks like in my mind. So the vision for what you desire your life to look like. So imagine a life in which you and your children or family are well, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally well. Imagine living the satisfying life that God promises in John 10:10. So the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. So that's Jesus talking, and he's not saying, I'm going to give you a perfect life. He's not saying, I'm going to take away all your problems, but he is promising a satisfying life. So think about, what does that look like? How does that feel? And can you believe that God desires to give you a satisfying life? And then we're going to look at the Healthy Heart and Soul Action Plan. So focus on what you will feed your soul this week. Set aside time to focus on this and to feed your soul. Mark it on the calendar and guard this precious time. And this place gives you an opportunity to say, this week I will. And for some reason, when you write these things down, it just makes you that much more likely to accomplish something when you write it down. And that's why I put together the little workbook, is so that we can write things down and make a plan, and hopefully be that much more equipped to feed my heart and soul. So we'll leave it at that for a second. So I find it interesting how closely tied our emotions and our physical well-being is. But sometimes we forget that, and sometimes we don't know if our feelings are a result of physical stress or emotional stress. And that's why I put this up here, HALT. It's something that I learned at a program called Freedom Session. It's something that I came across, and yeah, it was a program that I took that was really helpful for me and helped me work through some very specific baggage, is what I'll say. So I would also include a P for pain, but HALT isn't as cute as HALT. But definitely keep these things in mind. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Or am I in pain? We often know, like if our kids are grumping, what's wrong? Well, half the time they're either hungry or tired, or have to go to the bathroom. If you think about it, how often isn't that our problem too? Hungry, tired, or have to go to the bathroom. So sometimes you just gotta stop and take care of those very basic things. It's kind of sad, but we get to a place where we're so busy we don't even get to go to the bathroom sometimes. So sometimes it's as simple as just HALT. And then we're going to take a look at putting together our Healthy Mind and Body Action Plan on page 2. So I think I heard you guys all switching over there. So notice how I attribute mental health to physical health here. For the most part, I think people tend to lump mental health with our emotional and spiritual health. I agree that those things all work together, but I think it's important to see the correlation between mental health and brain health. Let's remember now that our brains are organs made out of tissue and fluids, just like the other organs of our bodies. Our brains are not spiritual entities or magical emotion boxes. With that in mind, we can assume that if our brains are healthy, our abilities to think, remember, make decisions, navigate and moderate emotion, as well as plan, are supported. Imagine your brain as a mass of electrical wiring. Now imagine that the wiring gets frayed, cut, or damaged. What will happen? It will short circuit. And I'm realizing that, brain fog, those mommy brain moments, that forgetfulness and even anxiety is, for me especially, and I would assume others have experienced this too, it is kind of a brain malfunction. Things just are not clicking the way they should. So this is how I understand the brain to work. So however, when our brains have the nutrients it needs to build healthy brain tissue and cells, it should be healthy. So note, the brain is mainly water and fatty acids. So if we're not drinking enough water, and if we're not taking or ingesting enough omega fatty acids, our brain probably is lacking something that it needs. So by the way, this is an image of a brain cell. Can you see what I mean about the electrical wiring analogy? If those tissues are breaking down, it's just simply not going to fire the way that it's supposed to. So now that we understand better how important it is for our brain, just like our heart, lungs, and muscles to be supported, let's look at a few ways we can do just that. If you haven't already heard, Young Living is so much more than oils. We are a whole wellness company, and we offer so many fantastic products to support your entire body. Carla Green is an incredible lady who also happens to be one of our Young Living upline support members. She put this graphic together as a basic starting point for anyone looking to keep their brain healthy. Carla is a physiotherapist and a registered acupuncturist who has been working with Young Living products in her clinic in Alberta for over 15 years. She has noticed results using Young Living products with her clients on average 30% faster when compared to even the highest quality products available on the market. The difference is Young Living's purity standards, commitment to wellness, and of course, the addition of essential oils in the products to enhance and stabilize the vitamins, minerals, and essential nutrients that your body needs. We all know that our bodies and brains thrive with omega fatty acids. Now add some essential oils to stabilize, promote freshness, reduce oxidation, and get rid of that fishy aftertaste. Has anybody ever taken omegas and gotten a really gross little aftertaste? You're not going to get that nearly as bad with the omega dyes because we have, I believe it's clove and rosemary and a couple other essential oils in there that definitely improve the aftertaste. Carla considers omega dyes, essential science 4, life 5, and nature red the 4 pillars of health. This is the protocol she uses with many of the people who come through her clinic and has had fantastic results. So just show of hands, how many people have tried nature red? That makes sense. Okay. How about the omega dyes? Yeah, okay, perfect. The life 5? Wow, look at you guys. I'm so proud of you. And how about the essential signs or any of the enzymes? Awesome. Now, here's the thing. I have been terrible with supplements. I was never ever good at supplements. I was like, oh, I just eat good. Denial, maybe. But anyway, what I have found is when it took me a good 3 months of being consistent before I really could see obvious results. So if you tried it for a week and really didn't feel much better, that might not have been enough time. So I would really, really encourage you to give these supplements a good 3 months to see the full maximum benefit from it. And then from there, then you can look at adding maybe something else. Myself personally, MindWise has been a game changer. I definitely do the nature red and the omegas are my staples. I'm very diligent about those. The enzymes and the probiotics I'm not as diligent about, but after doing this, I'm going to be much more diligent because I'm doing the research that I am convincing myself of the importance of it now too. But I personally have noticed better memory, healthier skin, and actually other people have noticed, like, your skin looks amazing, and I'm like, okay, I'm 30 now. Okay, sure, cool. So now I can justify spending a little extra on my nutrients. Increased energy, improved mood. That's been a big one. There were days when, like, my husband would come home from work and I just was miserable, and not just the occasional day, like most days. And I felt terrible for him because he didn't know what he was coming home to, and I didn't know how to change it because I was just so fed up and tired that I didn't know what else to do. And he'd come home and I just go and be alone because I needed to be alone, kind of thing. And so taking care of myself and making sure I've gotten the nutrients and the rest that I've needed definitely has made a world of difference in my overall mood. Improved digestion. This was interesting because I didn't think that I had bloating or digestive issues, nothing noticeable, but when you have like a level 1 or 2 out of 10 bloating, you don't notice it. And then when you take your supplement and it's gone, you're like, oh, that's better. And you don't even notice it. So you live with it for so long that you have no idea that you're bloated. So it is interesting, because so many people I talk to, oh, no, I don't have any issues with digestion. Okay. Well, I'm not going to argue with you, because that would be weird. But I would just really encourage everybody to try it. And I'll go into more explanation of why those things are so important to you. But I've definitely noticed. So improved immunity as well. And I just plain feel great when I utilize this protocol. And I certainly notice when I drop the ball and stop taking advantage of these products. So something else I've noticed too is when my kids ask for things, it's interesting. My kids will ask for Nation. They don't drink it every day. But when they ask for it, I absolutely give it to them. And in the past, I've thought, oh no, you don't need that. And I regret it, because then they end up being sick like the next day. And I'm going, did they know? And I really do believe that our bodies crave these things, especially once you've been using it for a little while. Your body knows what it needs. And so if you're craving Natia, give in. It's not a cookie, it's Natia. So go for it. And when your kids ask for it, it might not be a bad thing to give to them. I will, when they ask for it, I will never turn them down anymore. So the other 4 products on this protocol that Carla would recommend, in addition to the 4 pillars for better brain support, would be, so we've got MindWise, Nitro, Sulfazyme, and Copiaba. Yeah, it's not real clear on there, but those are other great options as well if you're looking for something extra to support. So as it is. Yes, and it's quite tasty. Like, I like it. It's a fairly thick liquid, and you can add it to your Natia. And I actually take it separate because I like the flavor. So I'll do the MindWise first, and then the Natia. And yeah, truly, that is one that I have found has been good for me. And I can definitely notice a difference in my brain malfunctions. So MindWise is wonderful. Nitro is not something that I take every day. But it's definitely your best friend when you're not getting your full 8 hours of sleep, which is probably many of us. When I was pregnant, it was part of my daily routine. I did take a Nitro every day because I was so exhausted during my pregnancy, and Nitro was a lifesaver. And now I just keep it on hand for days when I fly and travel and didn't get enough sleep. So it's definitely a wonderful one to keep on hand. And it's loaded with B vitamins. And some people are like, oh, you can take that when you're pregnant? Heck yeah, it is amazing when you're pregnant. Loaded with folic acid and all the B vitamins that you need. So it's kind of awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about Copiaba. There's really no compliant way for me to tell you how amazing this oil is. But I've heard it referred to as helichrysum on steroids, frankincense on steroids, and sandalwood on steroids. So if you've ever used any of those oils and you like them, you may like this one. It is considered an enhancer oil, much the same as peppermint, but has a much milder smell. So my advice, crack that baby open and put it on pretty much everything and anything. Yeah, everything and anything. It's not the flavor. It's not like a flavor that I would necessarily love on food, but it probably wouldn't be bad. Have you tried it? Pardon? I do add it to my Natia. I can pass that around. I do add it to my Natia quite often, and a lot of people will do that, or to your MindWise. And it may also be really good for your stomach. I definitely would recommend looking up some of these crazy words. I'm going to try and say them, but please don't judge me. Beta carotenoline and alpha hemolene. I don't know. Look them up because the information on them is pretty impressive, and you might get an even better idea as to why those this oil is so powerful. But really, it's something that I would recommend considering to use every day, and It's coming in our starter kits now, so when people get it, just encourage them to open it and just start using it, because you probably will enjoy it.
So like 1, 2 drops in your nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not here to give protocols, but yeah, that sounds good. Yep. So raise your hand if you could use a little bit more sleep. That is my 4-year-old son, who just falls asleep wherever and whenever sometimes. I have probably 5 or 6 of him, pictures of him sleeping in the most obscure positions, in the most obscure places. So that's that phase where toddlers like stop needing the naps as frequently, and so you don't put them down for a nap, and then you find them in weird places, like under your desk or, you know, in the closet with his foot up on the shelf. Yes. So I have found that 9 times out of 10, my greatest area of lack is sleep. The sad part is that it took me a very long time to recognize that in myself. I honestly believed that I didn't need that much sleep, and that going to bed at 11 and getting up at 6 was plenty of sleep for me. After all, that is 7 hours, right? And I never really felt that tired during the day. The mornings don't count. I'm just not a morning person. And that mid-afternoon crash where I'd walk around in circles because I couldn't focus on what I was doing, that was just baby brain. It had nothing to do with sleep. And that total meltdown at bedtime, me, not the kids, that was just because I'm stressed out. So I can't stress enough how important sleep is. And we all know this, we all do. But what I have really come to notice is there are definitely, like for me personally, my anxiety actually gets much, much worse when I haven't gotten sleep. So I actually don't feel that tired. Like the tired spells, they just kind of come and go, but I don't feel like exhausted all the time because I'm kind of a high-strung person. I'm actually kind of buzzing more so than tired a lot of the time. But I've noticed that I get anxious and really, really bizarre anxious thoughts when I'm tired. And I'm realizing now that that is a symptom of exhaustion and a symptom of anxiety. That's not just me. And for a long time, I thought that was just me, and I had a weird mind that went dark places. And I realize now that that's actually a sign that I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm lacking nutritionally. So I can give you a very clear example. Just even driving to the airport earlier this week when I was first heading out this way, I was driving onto a bridge, and it really truly felt like a little glitch in my mind where I had this thought that the front end of my truck was going to clip the edge of the bridge, and I was going to drive into the river valley and die. And I share that because I know that I'm not the only one whose brain goes there sometimes. And often it used to be I would hit a deer, and just imagining all these weird scenarios. And once I realized that A, that's not a healthy way to think, and B, that's not that's a symptom, I've first stopped myself and going, okay, I'm not going to pursue that thought. But I used to just go down that rabbit trail, and before you know it, I was crying because, you know, my life is so difficult, and what would happen if blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, and I'm realizing that that really truly is a symptom of anxiety, and those things can be avoided. And it actually didn't take me until I had gotten to a place where I was much, much better. And then all of a sudden one day my brain glitched again, and I was like, whoa, why did I just have that thought? And I realized I used to think that way constantly. Like I used to constantly imagine all these negative scenarios. Often it was, you know, something horrible happening to my children, and it could be as simple as I'd be walking down the stairs and I would feel like I was going to trip and just imagine my baby on the bottom of the stairs. And these were just not pleasant thoughts. And they weren't ruining my life by any means, but it was extremely disruptive. And I was able to cope with it. But imagine if you can remove those things, how much better equipped you are to deal with your day. Now you're not dealing with this unhealthy anxiety. And I had no idea how much of that was just going on in the back of my head all the time. And so if you can relate to that, I really want to encourage you to put some of these into practice, because if you're dealing with that kind of anxiety, no wonder all it takes is a little something else to push you over the edge. And that's where I was. You're dealing with all this anxiety in the back of your mind that you're not even aware of, and then something small would happen and boom, you're over the edge and you feel out of control. And that's exactly how I felt. I just felt out of control. But as I said, 9 times out of 10, it can be resolved by sleep. I had my 3rd baby in December of last year, and I was taking care of my nutritionals. I was eating well. I was making sure that I was eating. I wasn't allowing myself to skip a meal, because it's really easy to skip breakfast when you're feeding everybody else. So I made sure that I was eating meals. But then I'd have those little brain glitches where my brain would start thinking about, for some reason, that stare thing came up a lot. It was really reoccurring for me. And so this instant that came up, I thought, okay, time to get more sleep. And I hunkered down and I made myself go to bed at, well, the process started at 8:30. I'm an 11 o'clock kind of girl. So I started getting ready for bed at 8:30 because I knew I needed to get some sleep. And I hated that. I hated going to bed that early because I wanted to watch Grey's Anatomy, really like that. And often I still wouldn't even get to bed until 10. But at least I was headed in the right direction, and I wasn't, on Facebook or something else. And honestly, it took me a week, and I could feel right away that I was doing much already, and those thoughts weren't bombarding me anymore. So that's my personal experience, and it took me a long time to figure this out. It took me a lot of self-awareness to even notice these things, and that's why I share it, because sometimes we have no idea that these things are going on with us. So do my information junkies want the research on some of this? There are a couple interesting things that I thought. So hang in there, party animals. There is a big relationship between psychiatric and physiological problems and sleep. So people who are depressed or have anxiety often have trouble with sleep as part of those disorders, says Dr. Lawrence Epstein, medical director of sleep health centers and an instructor at Harvard Medical School. I'm going to just skip ahead to one major study of 10,000 adults. People with insomnia were 5 times more likely to develop depression. Lack of sleep can be an even greater risk factor for anxiety. In the same study, people with insomnia were 20 times more likely to develop panic disorder. And I highlighted that because I've talked to quite a few people in the last little while that have, major panic attacks, and we right away think, oh, you just need some pills, you just need, and there's lots of things that they can do, but sometimes it's just turn off the computer, turn off the TV, and go to bed on time. And so I can't stress that enough. Yeah. So hopefully you got my point. Go to bed on time. Yes, Mom. So if anybody wants more information on that, there's a whole article on that. I can certainly send you the link. So there are some great, awesome options for creating a great bedtime routine. I would love to hear what some of your favorites are. Does anybody have their favorite bedtime routine? Which one? The Rudabella? Oh, okay. Awesome. That's good to hear, right? That's awesome. Anybody else?
I'll read Tranquil on that.
Yeah.
And I have also both my ears behind my ears. I still can.
Valor's back in stock. Have you tried Valor yet?
You might want to try that one.
Yeah, now that it's back in stock. Yeah, that one's great. The balsam fir, it took me seriously a good year before I found an oil that really helped me. That I was like, yes, that helped. Lots of people were like, lavender, all I need is lavender. I was like, really? That's awesome for you. But it took me a long time. So if you have a hard time falling asleep and you haven't found the right one, just keep trying. And the bonus is, so if you buy Idaho balsam fir and it doesn't do the trick for you, you rub that all over your big toes and your temples and just armpits and everywhere. Yeah, there we go. If it's not working for you, could give to her, or you could save it because that's another one that I love for so many different things. My 6-year-old gets terrible growing pains. And balsam fir, every time a couple drops rubbed right on her shins and ankles, because she gets it in her feet, because she's just like her father. She's going to be taller than me in like a week. Balsam fir does it for her every time. So there's lots of different uses of that one. Actually, and I'll even use that when it's teething. I'll put it on the outside of the jaw when the little ones are teething. So that one would be great for discomfort. But yeah, whenever you buy one of these oils, even if you buy it for one specific use, take some time to figure out what else you can use it for, because there's always, these oils are so versatile, there's always so many different things. The other thing I'd love to point out is orange is phenomenal in warm water as a tea. I love that before bed, or in the morning, or anytime I want the night for tea. So orange is one of my absolute favorites that way. Or totally unhealthy, but throw it on your ice cream and it tastes like cream. Whatever, justify it, but I love it. So give it a try, it's awesome. Yeah, and Emu Pro actually was my go-to this week. That's a chewable supplement. Did I bring it out here? I don't think I did, but it's a chewable and it's got a little bit of melatonin in it. And just because I've been on a wonky schedule, I went to Nova Scotia first. And then I'm making my way back, and I've taken every ridiculous flight there is, and so totally out of schedule. And so I'm using Pro A to help me sleep a little bit better, but also it's a great little immunity support thing. And I'm traveling all over the place and visiting lots of people with babies and kids with coughs and colds. So hoping I don't bring it all home to my kids. It could be. And that's the hard part, right? Like I said, everybody is different, but definitely keep at it and try different ones. My current favorite for the busy mind is Present Time. And actually, I have that one here if you want to pull it out and smell it. Oh, well, let's just do that. Just promise me you won't fall asleep. I think I brought it. Or did I? Oh, you know what? That is on my nightstand at home. No, I don't think I have it here. But Present Time is in the Feelings Kit. And the Feelings Kit, has anybody gotten the Feelings Kit? It's kind of awesome because it's got valor, forgiveness, inner child, release. It's got a whole pile of them, and some fairly costly oils are in there, and so it's a really great kit. So I would definitely recommend checking out that Feelings Kit, because there might be a few different ones that would be beneficial for sleep. So we're going to look at another one of these supplements made simple graphics that Carla had made, and then this one's just an overall body support. So the last chart we looked at was more for the brain. This one is overall body support or well-being support. So I would encourage you to pick a few supplements you think that you could benefit from. Try them for at least 3 months consistently. I'm confident that you will have fantastic results. Feel free to tweak your protocol up a little bit and try new things if you aren't certain that one is working for you. However,
water in maybe?
Stick with the 4 pillars to help and build on it. So Master Formula is brand new, and that is a multivitamin. Salt Enzyme, Longevity, and Power Meal. So I love the new Power Meal shake because, as I mentioned, sometimes eating enough in a day is hard. And lots of people say, oh, I have no problem eating enough. Well, no, just because you're snacking on cookies, that doesn't mean you're eating enough. That means you're starving. You need to start your morning with protein, and you won't have the desire to snack on the junk throughout the day kind of thing. So I found, yes, eating the protein or drinking the protein shake was a great way to start the day. And fill your stomach and fill your brain right away. So that is something that I really, really recommend, especially for those who are just struggling, in those early months. I always say to new moms, like, don't expect to accomplish anything in the first 6 months. You are just trying to keep everybody fed and alive. And so this one makes that job so much easier. So I want to talk a little bit about why probiotics and enzymes would be so key in our overall wellness. The article, Nurture Your Gut Bacteria, Improve Your Mood and Health, was written by David Perlmutter, a neurologist and the article is featured on the Huffington Post. And I'm just going to read you some of it because it's amazing information. It is certainly humbling to take a step back and recognize that so many aspects of our physiology are actually under the control of countless microbes that live within the intestine. The 100 trillion intestinal bacteria that make up what is called the human microbiome are involved in countless functions that have a profound effect on our health, risk for disease, longevity, mood, and even whether we're slender or fat. Like so many, I was led to believe that bacteria were basically to be considered agents of disease. After all, the bubonic plague wiped out a third of Europe in the 14th century, and even today, people still succumb to bacterial infection. But current science is revealing another side of the story. That the bacteria living within your intestines are not just keeping you healthy, they are keeping you alive. We now recognize that our gut bacteria are involved in some pretty important life-sustaining functions, including balancing the immune system. I've heard a statement that 80% of your immune system is actually in your gut.
Do not knock Rory over.
Controlling inflammation. So if you've got any kind of inflammation, consider your gut bacteria. Ridding the body of potentially damaging toxins. Making brain chemicals like serotonin, the feel-good transmitter. So that one is mind-boggling to me, that the bacteria in your gut can actually be part of what's producing the serotonin in your system. So that's what the whole connection to depression is.
Make sure she's all over.
The gut bacteria can also aid in manufacturing vitamins, harvesting nutrients from food. So if you're eating lots of food but you don't have any enzymes or bacteria to break that food down, it's just going right through you and you're not getting any of the benefits from it. So keeping the gut wall from becoming leaky. So no doubt most of you will recognize the importance of the first 6 functions listed above, but it may well be the number 7.
Can you make sure she doesn't fall in the water with her head?
The gut is lined with a layer 1 cell thick that allows us to absorb the things that we need, like vitamins and nutrients, while at the same time serving as a protective barrier to prevent us from absorbing potentially dangerous things like viruses and gut chemicals that can reach in our bodies. When there is breakdown of this barrier, the gut becomes leaky. And leaky gut is now the focus of intense scientific research. It has been associated with all kinds of problems, including depression, weight gain, anxiety, autism, type 2 diabetes, and even Alzheimer's. So we need to be doing everything we can to keep the gut lining healthy so it can do its job. As it turns out, maintaining the health and function of the lining of the gut is what healthy bacteria are constantly doing. When our gut bacteria are healthy, we don't absorb various damaging chemicals that can trigger inflammation. And to be sure, it is inflammation that underlies almost every bad disease you don't want to get, including coronary artery disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and even depression. Yes, depression is now looked upon as being linked to inflammation, and again, this relates back to the leaky gut and therefore the gut bacteria. By far and away, the biggest player in terms of keeping gut bacteria and you healthy and happy is food. Food choices have a profound influence in determining whether or not the gut is populated by health-sustaining organisms or bad bugs that will lead to metabolic problems, favoring weight gain, depression, and so many other issues. Refined sugar, for example, favors the gut bacteria that actually extract more calories from your food. And this contributes to obesity. What is truly remarkable is the recent discovery that artificial sweeteners like aspartame may actually be worse than sugar itself in this regard, favoring the growth of fat bugs in the gut. And this would certainly explain why people drinking diet drinks have a much greater risk of obesity and diabetes when compared to those who don't. And for all these years, so many people thought they were doing the right thing by choosing diet soda. So here's how you can rebuild and maintain a healthy population of gut bacteria that will pave the way for you to achieve your weight loss goals and improve your mood and help give you back your vibrancy. Step 1, eat foods that are naturally healthy probiotic bacteria. These are generally foods that have been fermented and include kimchi, a traditional Korean dish made from cabbage. Anybody have access to kimchi? Okay. I'm just checking because I know I cannot get that at the Nearlandia Co-op. So I'm just curious what else. Yogurt with live cultures. Now I just want to point out, if there is more sugar in your yogurt than probiotics, don't even bother because it's counterproductive. Ether, a fermented beverage made from milk or coconut milk, sauerkraut, fermented meat, fish and egg, cultured sour cream, and pickles. That one makes me happy. I like pickles. The word is out about fermented, and now they are available in almost all grocery stores. Try to have 1 to 2 servings of fermented probiotic foods each day. Taking a broad spectrum probiotic supplement is another great idea when it comes to populating your gut with friendly bacteria. So as I said, I do not have access to a lot of those things. My husband would not be thrilled with sauerkraut. We're Dutch. We don't do stout. But maybe I should start. I'm gonna try.
Hi, Mommy.
There we go.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Almost right here.
I think so.
Yeah, pretty baby. Little person. Stinker.
Well, I know like pickled herring. Yeah, that's the only thing that came to mind. I think that's something I'm gonna need a little more research on myself. Yeah. And I'm actually surprised that apple cider vinegar is something that was mentioned, because that's something that I have been trying to do more often too. So this is great stuff that you can kind of take home and chew on for a little while. Sorry, I'm gonna do So that was step 1, probiotics. I cheat and I just because I know it's got me covered. But I'm definitely going to try and get those things into our diet, because why not? We start introducing those and cultured sour cream. Whoa! Some or not, but I'm certainly going to keep my eye out open for that. So step 2 is add prebiotic foods to your menu. Prebiotics are foods that are rich in what are called prebiotic fiber. This is a special type of fiber that actually serves to promote the growth and activity of the good gut. Our ancestors eat as much as 135 grams of prebiotic fiber, whereas Americans these days only consume around 5 grams on a daily basis. You can amp up your consumption of prebiotic fiber and change your gut bacteria for the better by adding healthy prebiotic-containing foods to your daily menu. Great prebiotic fiber includes jicama or Mexican yam, chicory root, dandelion green. Okay. Jerusalem artichoke, onions and garlic and asparagus. Yay, I can eat those. I'm gonna try and get me some chicory root, but I'll stick with onions and garlic now. So I, as in the person writing this article, recommend 2 servings of prebiotic food each day. I'm a neurologist, and in my 30+ years of dealing with patients with issues like obesity and brain fog, as well as an innovative food weight, the program outlined above has proven to be the most powerful treatment strategy I've ever recommended. Food, who knew? So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea as to where those things can come into play. And I, sometimes you can find this stuff kind of overwhelming, like, okay, now I have to go find me some chicory root. But maybe just start off simple, and I'm going to certainly try and eat more asparagus. That seems to be a great way. Plus my kids like it, so why don't I get it more? And then let's talk a little bit about enzymes. And this is actually something that I had taken from Alyssa Vischer had posted it in one of the Beyond the Basics groups, and I just found that this is a fantastic little breakdown of what enzymes are. There's confusion over what enzymes are compared to probiotics, and that they are quite different. So apparently entire books have been written on the subject of enzymes. So I'm going to try and give you guys the short version. Basically, enzymes are needed for all the chemical reactions taking place in our body. There are two major enzymes in the body, metabolic and digestive. Metabolic enzymes help run the body systems like detoxification, production of energy, new cell growth, cell repair, and on and on. Pretty important stuff. Digestive enzymes are what breaks down the food that we eat. So that its nutrients are released and we can absorb them. Also pretty important. Different enzymes break down different kinds of food. We get enzymes from our food we eat, contains them, and our bodies create them. Unfortunately, enzymes are very sensitive to heat, pH, metal ions, and chemicals. The way our food are grown and harvested cause them to be significantly lower in enzymes. And the way that we pasteurize, heat, and process our food destroys what was there. This means we have to rely on our body to produce most of our enzymes. However, enzymes created in the body are destroyed by various chemicals in our lives. Chlorine in our water, for example, and our body's pH imbalances. Plus, if we're not getting enough digestive enzymes from our food and our body needs to create more, then it can't create as many metabolic enzymes, which you can imagine is a bit of a problem. The good news is when we add a digestive enzyme supplement, not only are we going to get more nutrients from our food, but also going to free up the body to create those metabolic enzymes it needs for, well, basically everything. So adding something as simple as digestive enzymes can have such an overwhelming positive effect on our entire health. So Young Living has several different ones. We have Essentialzyme 4, and then just Essentialzyme, one I've got up here. Detoxzyme, Allerzyme, and Mightyzyme. And the Mightyzyme is actually one for kids. My 4-year-old calls that his healthy vitamin. He loves the Mightyzymes. He's just been a little bit more prone to tummy aches, and so I try to get him to take them all the time. And my 6-year-old actually takes the, she's all proud of herself because she can swallow the big capsules of the Essentialzyme 4. But yeah, it feels good getting those supplements into us and into our families' diets. Oh, that was the wrong graphic. So now you've seen it. So if you want that article, it is on
You're a brat.
Alyssa has posted it. Are any of you in Alyssa's joyful group? If you do want it, let me know and I can certainly post it or send it to you via Facebook or email or whatever too.
What's on there?
One thing here, second.
What's on there?
Puppy.
No, what's on here? Oh.
Ears.
Yeah, those are all out of the NFR market. Please. There we go. These oils are rock stars, which is a fun way of saying they support normal glandular function. So has anybody ever tried these oils? Okay. Lady Scleral? Did you try fluorescent? Yeah. So they're all basically the same idea, but just different formulations based on what you're kind of looking to achieve. I like this book a lot because it's called The Ultimate Balance. And there was something in here that I found super duper helpful. And it talks about symptoms of, well, first it just shows you all about, are we lucky to be women to have, follicular stages and stuff? All that fun stuff. But really, if you look at here, you can see all the crazy things that our hormones do throughout the cycle. And what I like about this book is it gives you recommendations for how to support our body along the way. But then it also has a little chart of high estrogen, or low progesterone, what kind of symptoms you might have there, or what kind of symptoms you might have when you have low estrogen. So I believe that I have had low estrogen for a long time, even throughout my pregnancy, which really quite surprised me. And so using some of these oils occasionally definitely been great for me, and I know so many women who have sworn by these oils. So I can't stand here and tell you exactly what you need to do. I really, really would encourage you to get out there and do a little bit of research. You know, try to figure out, okay, what would you want? What are you needing support? Do you need to support the progesterone, or do you need to support the estrogen? And sometimes you have to do both, and at different stages. So that sounds really complicated. I'm sorry, our bodies are not simple. We are women. We are complex beings. But just know that there are things to support them. And you know, so often I'm hearing from people, well, you know, there's nothing we can do. This is just the way my body is. I disagree. There are definitely things that you can do. You just need to be proactive. The one that I really wanted to highlight is Endoflex, because it is a fairly inexpensive oil. I believe it's $25 for a 15 ml. And I don't remember what got me started using Endoflex. I think I had been told that it was thyroid and adrenal support, and I'm like, sure, I'm going to try that for a little while. And I got into using it morning and night. And I noticed a huge change in something that I didn't even know. And I have what I would describe as a buzzing feel. When I'm anxious, I feel like I'm buzzing, and I tell my husband, I'm just buzzing, and he's like, crazy lady. And he had no idea what I was talking about, because he's one of these super chill, easygoing kind of people. And so as I've shared this with other people, the other words I've heard are vibrating or humming. I don't know if either of those words mean a little bit more to you, but the analogy I like to give is, have you ever been driving down a busy road and you've got a big truck in front of you, a big truck behind you, and a big truck beside you, and you have to do this for an extended period of time, and you could just feel like you're buzzing? Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but maybe you do. And some of you might be feeling it just as I talk about it. Can anybody, pardon? Yeah, anxious, but like, I don't know, I feel it kind of in a buzzy way, but maybe that's just me. But I found that when I would use Endoflex, it would calm that, and I didn't even realize that I felt that way. And that's why I'm like really trying to pull it out of you guys, if you can know what I'm saying, because I didn't realize that I felt that way, because it was so common for me just to feel that just buzzing. But when I started using the Endoflex, and I would just I'd put a drop in my hand, put it over my throat, and over, like, your adrenal glands are kind of right in here somewhere, and that's where I'd put it. I noticed that buzzing feeling went away, and I was just much more chill. And again, it's like I was saying earlier about, you've got all this stuff going on in the background that you're not even aware of it, and then all of a sudden something small happens and you're pushed over the edge. Well, if you're not even aware of all this buzzing that's going on, and then something small happens and you're pushed over the edge and you're going, what's wrong with me? Once I removed that buzzy feeling, I had a lot more give, and those little things didn't irritate me as much. I didn't realize how irritated I was all the time, I guess. Maybe that's another word for it, irritated. So much less irritated with Endoflex. So if you can relate to anything of what I'm saying right now, give Endoflex a try, because it is fabulous. And even if you don't know what I'm talking about, try it, because maybe you might have those same, okay, that is different, and I had no idea kind of thing. So that's my rah-rah for Endoflex. Okay. And then the next one we're going to look at is just a basic pick-me-up. Yeah, I know we've talked about some of these. Has anybody tried transformation? I'm going to pass transformation, and I'm also going to pass implement around, just so we've got a little ways to go yet, and I don't want anybody falling asleep. So we're going to cover it around and put that on the back of your neck, and we're going to put transformation on our dish. And just enjoy it wherever you want it. I like this one. And honestly, I don't typically like the spicy smelling oils. This is definitely a spicy, and it's a different kind of spicy. But this one I would put up there with Endoflex for me. Just very, I don't know, it's supporting something that I didn't know needed support. And I love it. So I would definitely encourage people to try it. And like I said, it's kind of a pick-me-up too. In that midday lull, throw a little transformation on. And like, I truly did feel like I could turn a bad day around. And that was, right? It feels good. Yeah. And, you know, I just want to say that when I first started with all this, I was really leery of oils like joy and hope and forgiveness and transformation. I was just like, yeah, I don't get it. So if you're feeling that way, I understand. What I have discovered is that the oils, they calm those physical symptoms. So no, an oil like forgiveness is not going to make you forgive somebody when you've been holding a grudge for 50 years. But if you are trying to let go of that grudge and you still feel it in your gut, try forgiveness on your gut when you're choosing to forgive. And it might just help release some of that physical stuff that's going on and make it so that you have a less intense physical response to that experience. Which kind of brings me to this right here is really what actually got me sharing Young Living really openly, and it's what made me realize people need to know about these oils. So this blend, or these oils, Valor Release and White Angelica, were an absolute game changer for me. And this is what I was saying, just, you know, with forgiveness and dealing with the physical aspects. When my son Logan was 18 months old, I found him floating in the middle of this dugout. And it's a big dugout, like probably the size of this room. He was literally in the middle of it on his back. He was swimming at 18 months old. So there's a barn right beside us here, and we were working in the garden, and I thought he was playing with his sister in a little pile of grain. I could see her out of the corner of my eye, and I thought he was right beside her, and he wasn't. And we're in the middle of the yard. I could have gone in any direction, really. I had no idea where he went. But I really felt that I needed to check the dugout, and I came over a little hill, and then I could see him. And I pulled him out, and he was fine. Like, he ended up being fine. But he had swallowed a lot of water. When I got him out of the water, he was limp. His eyes were huge, and he was cold. And I don't remember if he was breathing at first. I was going to do CPR, and my mind kind of went blank, and I just flipped him over. And he spit up a little bit of water. And then after that, I remember him heaving. So I think that water was on its way to his lungs, or, you know, definitely preventing him from breathing. And then I remember him heaving, and then he puked up a lot of water. I honestly have no idea how long he was in the water, because it could have been, I honestly have no idea, because he had just gone out of my view. If I would have picked one more dandelion, I don't know that he would have been swimming anymore, and I might not have ever found him. And that was really what, you know, scared me. And now when I look at this isn't an image of death. I can look at this and know that it's an image of life, because my son is alive and well. God was taking care of him, and that was something that I knew right from day one. And honestly, I've never even felt guilt over it, because I know I didn't do anything wrong. It's not like I was in the house watching Oprah. Like, I was in the garden playing with my kid. We live in rural Alberta, and there's dugouts everywhere. So I'd be driving anywhere, and hey, my neighbor has a dugout right next to their house. And so whenever I'd see water, I had a very, very strong physical response. And my whole body would just shudder, and I'd shake it off. But it was definitely a physical response to the trauma. When the ambulance and the police came, they gave my husband a card and said, like, she's gonna need this. I knew that it was gonna be traumatic. At the time, I had just started working with the oils. I knew I had done a little bit of research about how to use them for emotional support because I was already an anxious kind of mess, trying to find support. And done a little bit of research, and I knew that this was going to be a traumatic, and I had kind of understood that trauma such as this kind of leaves an imprint on your body, and so whenever that is triggered again, your body has learned to respond in a certain way. And my understanding was, if you can meet your body in that trigger and teach it to respond differently, you can change the outcome, you can change your response. And so whenever I was triggered by water or the laundry, the clothes that he was wearing, or whatever, I would use the oil. So I had Valor, Release, and White Angelica, and I used them morning and night. And then throughout the day, I always had something. I kept oils in my pocket at all times because you just never knew when it was going to come up. And as soon as I felt that feeling, I would apply the oils, and I would focus on the other side. And the other side was, this is not an image of death. This is an image of life. My son is well. He's fine. He's good. He's healthy. He's protected. And so it wasn't just a matter of slapping on oils and continuing on with my day. I had to process the feelings. But a month later, we were swimming at the lake, and I was totally chill. I was not anxious, and I was already an anxious person to begin with all this. And that to me was, okay, this is working. Even now in the spring, I get nervous again. I do get anxious again because all winter long it's all frozen over. But in the spring that fills up again, and it's exposed again. And now I just realized that this spring, my third son is going to be about 18 months old. And so I did tell my husband, we're going to build a fence, right? Like in our yard, because, yeah, things happen. But now I just know I can prepare for that, and I can use the oils to calm my body, because me being anxious doesn't help anything. It doesn't solve anything. It just means that I'm miserable because of something that happened 3 years ago. So, but really, this is really what has gotten me sharing the oils, because when I realized how powerful they have been to get me through that, how else can I use them for those kind of things? There's other baggage that I would like to deal with, and I know other people have struggled too. And if you can use these oils in such a powerful way, maybe we don't have to go to medication every time. I'm not anti-medication, and it has its place, but maybe this is an option too. And what I love about it is it helps you. I really felt like I was able to breathe and process and deal with it, rather than just numbing the symptoms. And so that is really what has gotten me excited about Young Living, and sharing it. And something else I would like to mention is the Valor, Release, and White Angelica is a great thing that I would recommend for if you have nightmares. That's actually why I started it, is because I had laid down to go to sleep that first day, and I wasn't even like freaking out in a huge hysterical way, but I couldn't get that image out of my mind. Like I can still close my eyes and picture it very, very clearly, see him floating on the water and his little feet kicking in the water. But it doesn't freak me out in the same way that it used to, kind of thing. So these oils are powerful. They really are a beautiful tool that I believe is a gift from God, and that I would encourage people to use and share and get the word out that this is an option for people. If you feel that you need a little extra support, we do have the Freedom Release and Freedom Sleep Kit. This is an incredible kit that came out 2 years ago at convention. And it has a very specific protocol where you use the freedom sleep protocol for 30 days, and it tells you exactly where to put it. It is idiot-proof. And then you use the freedom release for 30 days, and it's the perfect little protocol. And it really is a powerful thing for releasing those negative emotions. And I would encourage anybody to give that a try. We are going to move into page 3 of the workbook. So that is your little chart. And I want to really encourage people. Now, I've kind of given you a lot of information to work with here. So this says start each day with the resolve to do whatever it takes to have a good day. This doesn't mean that everything will go smoothly. It means that you will find a way to overcome the obstacles. So as I was saying with transformation, I really felt like I could turn a day around. So often some days I'd wake up and feel great. And those are great days. Get up, bounce out of bed, make meals, do laundry, whatever, do it all and feel great. And other days you wake up and it's just like, I just want to go back to bed. Those are days where you need resolve to do whatever it takes, because we are adults now, apparently, and we have responsibilities, and we have to take care of people. We can't just go back to bed all the time. So that's where I just came up with this little mantra of, resolve to do whatever it takes. And some days are going to be just one foot in front of the other, getting through it, and other days are going to be much easier. And I truly believe that when you keep at it, it gets easier and easier. You find the tools that work for you. You're still going to have bad days, but when you know, okay, this is a day where I'm just going to need a whole lot of nature and, resolve, you can get through it. But at the end of the day, be proud of yourself that, okay, I didn't just let that completely fall by the wayside. I felt like it was going to just fall apart, but we got through it, and it wasn't even just me surviving it, like it was actually a halfway decent day. And so that was really encouraging for me to realize that I could turn a bad day around. So the vision, I said, pick one word, phrase, or verse that will remind you of what it looks like when you are well. So really try to visualize, what does wellness look like for you? So some of the things that I had written down were a reservoir of potential beyond my perceived limits. This is something that I had learned this summer, actually at Young Living Convention. There was an incredible guy there by the name of Kyle Maynard, and he was born without arms and legs. And he could have been an invalid, he could have been in his wheelchair pushed around his whole life, but he refused to live that way. He had elbows. He had up to his knees and up to his elbows. And the man, with all the dignity that I could ever imagine, crawled around. And like, you can't respect a person like that. But he would talk about how, in a room this big, like we were in convention, so this room was massive. He's like, this stage is my success. This room is my failure. And how much failure didn't he have to drudge through in order to reach that little bit of success? But he had family who just kept on encouraging him and kept on encouraging him. And they wouldn't just let him, just let people do stuff for him. And that to me was so powerful, because, I just feel like, I feel like a failure. Mother, I am always feeling ill-equipped and inadequate to do what I have to do, because I don't have a freaking clue what to do with a 7-year-old. I haven't got there yet. It's terrifying. But, all that failure to get that success, and that was really encouraging to me. And he talked about there is a reservoir of potential beyond your perceived limits, and my perceived limits were here, and like I'd hit that and I couldn't get beyond that. But this concept of, no, I want to reach that reservoir. There's potential beyond what I think I can do. So that's something that was very powerful for me. So I'd really encourage you to find a vision, and don't fill it in don't on Monday write in your vision for each day. Like each day, take a moment to think, what is my vision for what I want out of this day? And that's going to refocus you every day. And then the focus is pick one word or phrase that reminds you of why you will be better. And so one word that I picked was just simply overcome. And then nutrition, choose 1 to 5 ways you can make positive choices in what you will feed your body this week. And that could be, yeah, whatever you think. You know, if you think you're ready to tackle this and you know, pick 5 things, great. But if you just need to make one simple change, and that's making sure that you eat, you know, 1 piece of fruit today, like start there, and like don't feel like you have to climb the mountain. Just start 1 step at a time, kind of thing. Exercise. Make a plan for when and how you will exercise this week. I do not exercise nearly enough, but I find if I just get 10 to 15 minutes of, you know, ideally fresh air, it makes a world of difference. And there's some research saying like first thing in the morning is the best thing. It's going to help you if you can get out first thing in the morning for 10 minutes, get some fresh air. That's going to reset your whole system. Your whole body will be on a proper schedule because it wakes you up. So then you will actually sleep better if you get some fresh air early in the morning, kind of thing. So those are just some suggestions there. Rest. Make a plan for when you will rest each day this week. So whether that's going to bed on time or just even, you know, in that afternoon crash, to be okay, chill out, have a cup of tea, just rest. That's something I struggle with. I don't do well just to sit. I want to be, you know, if I've got energy and time to do something, I'm gonna, you know, finish with the dishes or whatever. Like, so I'm teaching myself just to rest a little bit, because when I'm going, that's when my anxiety is going. And then resist is, this is a little time to celebrate the things that you passed up, things that you sacrificed in order to make the good decision. So acknowledge the things you gave up in order to choose your wellness. So whether it was you gave up TV or the internet or an unhealthy snack, whatever, celebrate that, hey, I chose to do that rather than this. And that really is just a way to focus on what you will do. I didn't read this off, and I'm sad that I missed it, so I'm going to go back to this. I highlighted, guilt doesn't motivate change. Confidence does. Confidence comes from feeling good about what you do. So I would really encourage you, instead of saying, I'm not going to eat that cookie or whatever, focus on, I'm going to eat 2 pieces of fruit today. I'm going to eat banana. Or, you know, even if I'm going to eat the banana first and then I can still eat the cookie, it keeps you from eating 6 cookies, right? That's something that I find really encouraging too, is when you focus on the positive instead of on the negative, it takes you a long ways. So hang in there. We got a little ways to go yet. Does everybody know about the Essential Rewards? Anybody not know about what Essential Rewards is? For anybody who doesn't know, like, I'd be kind of a jerk if I didn't tell you the best way to get Young Living. And that really is through the Essential Rewards program, where you get at least 10% back towards free product. This month, I'm actually earning 40% back, because with the Ningxia promo there, you get double ER points. So the longer you're on Essential Rewards, the more points you get back. I've been on ER for over a year, so now I get 20% back. And because I'm buying me some Ningxia, I'm getting 40% back. So that is a steal of a deal. I don't know anybody else, you know, health food store or even Costco, that gives you even close to 40% back towards free product. So absolutely, Essential Rewards is the way to go. We have lovingly called November Promo-vember, because there's a hot mess of promotions going on this month, but there's a ton of free product. So definitely, when you place your order this month, check out what is available to earn for free this month. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, because you have access to this information, but just wanted to point out that, and even with, there's no trucks, that's free shipping. So with a 400 PV order, get yourself some Ningxia and some Omega Jives, and get some free shipping. That's a great deal. So I have a few more things for you, and I have a confession to make. Everything that I shared with you tonight, guess what? I'm not that good at it. Before you are like, ooh, jeez, got it all figured out. No. In general, I've been terrible at taking supplements. I got really good at it when I was pregnant, but that was probably because somebody else was involved. I have been known to drink more tea and coffee than water in a day. And I ate a ridiculous amount of Halloween candy while preparing this presentation. It's true, terrible timing. And no, chasing with self-resign does not counteract it. Doesn't undo the chocolate, unfortunately. But so let's discuss what I call the self-care ceiling. How many of you would say that you knew at least 25 to 50% of what I've shared with you tonight? Or at least 10%, right? You know you need to eat well, you need to go to bed on time, you need to drink lots of water, those kind of things. We all know that we need to be healthy, use our oils, but we aren't often successful in following through with a self-care plan. Diets, exercise routines, bedtime routines, these things all too often fall by the wayside. Why is that? Busyness? Yes, that would be one excuse. But anything important does get done, right? I would like to offer you one suggestion for why this very important aspect does not get prioritized the way it should be. I believe that we have a self-care ceiling. And by that I mean, I think that somewhere along the way we have put a cap or a ceiling on how much care we deserve. Have you ever noticed a loved one sell themselves short? It breaks our heart to see others devalue themselves. We often consider this humility when it's within ourselves, or meekness, putting the needs of others before our own. But are we really putting others' needs first when we are so spent that we cannot care for others the way we desire to? Please? We really want to look at that every once in a while. I chose the renovated ceiling because I like the idea that it was under construction. But anyway, so this is my 6-year-old daughter. I think she's pretty amazing. What I love about little girls this age is that they are so full of life. They have incredible imaginations and they still believe that they can do anything and everything. But I can already see the world begin to take that away from her. It's hard to watch that happen. If she could just hold on to that for the rest of her life, she would be set. You see, as of late, I have been working to get that back. When I was my daughter's age, my world crumbled. My parents divorced, and I had no idea how to grieve that. Neither did the rest of my family. I could liken the experience to a shipwreck. We were all just treading water, trying to stay afloat. I was bitter that I had to deal with that. I would see my friends and their families float by in their fully intact ships, and I just felt alone. But in some ways, I believe that I'm very lucky. Not just because it could have been worse. I think I lived with that concept. Well, it could have been worse. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Those words don't actually ever bring comfort. So often things happen and we say, well, at least. And to me, that doesn't ever acknowledge the pain. That never allows us to grieve. That just forces us to stuff it somewhere. It minimizes the pain that we endured. Also known as denial. I learned that in freedom session. Sorry. But I do believe that in some ways I was lucky because of the deep impact of my wounds. I could not deny them. It was fairly easy for me to pinpoint the source of my pain, and so I'm able to work on finding healing for it. I knew I needed to seek healing, and that is what brought me to freedom session, right about the same time that I was introduced to the oils. But for many of us, the wounds are not so obvious. We were teased in school, or a family member commented that we were too skinny, or too fat, or too short, or too tall. Each of us holds onto wounds in our hearts, wounds that cap our self-worth. And we don't even realize it because it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse. I should just be grateful that I didn't have to suffer, blah, 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 blah. Please note that if you ever catch yourself saying it could have been worse, I should just be grateful, this is a big red flag that this is a pain that needs to be grieved. Even if it's just that somebody just said this or whatever. These pains are pains in our hearts that need to be grieved. In my opinion, these things are spiritual concerns and they need to be addressed at a spiritual level. You can use all the supplements, oils, healthy food in the world, but if you do not address the spiritual wounds, I'm certain it will all come crashing down, and that these things will just be abandoned. There are many great resources available to you. I encourage you to get out there and see what might be best for you. There are actually 2 programs that I would encourage anybody to check out if they are needing a little bit of extra help to deal with wounds and spiritual pain. One program is called Choices, and I've never attended Choices myself, but I've heard wonderful things about it, and Freedom Session. They have been very powerful in the lives of many. In the meantime, I would like to share with you what is helping me to break through my self-care season. Since we can't all just join a Freedom Session group right now, I want to share with you something that's been helping me. So be still and know that I am God. This is a verse that I have learned to pray through, and actually I did put that in the wellness program, and it's something that you can just do and just cause yourself to slow down. You know, this can be part of the rest if you want it to be. You can do whatever you want, but this is why I liked it. As I mentioned earlier, a feeling that I had throughout my childhood was a feeling of alone, and I hated that feeling. To this day, I hate that feeling. I don't like to be alone with just me. Traveling without my family did not appeal to me at all. I'm realizing that I'm extremely dependent. Of course, you know, I love to be with my family, but it's almost to the point where, like, I just really do not being away from my husband for any amount of time, and to a point where I think it's actually unhealthy. And that's something that I'm learning to work through. God is showing me that even when I am all alone, just me, no one else, He is there. And as I look back on my life, I can see now how He has always been there and how He has carried me through some of the darkest times in my life. Included in your workbook is a guided prayer that I have been working through at least once a day for the past 2 weeks. With it, I have been practicing 4 things. 1, being alone and being okay with that. Learning how to be secure in myself. 2, being still, stopping the busyness, and not planning, thinking, or doing anything. These 2 things is the hardest for me, is just to stop and be still and not think about anybody else or do anything else or plan anything else. So often, even as I'm sitting here trying to, you know, focus on be still, I'm thinking about somebody else and whatever else, you know, planning my little presentation or whatever. And just the concept of being still is extremely difficult for me. 3, seeking God's truth for my day and rejecting any lies and basking in the truth. And 4, noticing God's presence with me, basking in it, and accepting His peace and denying anxiety and worry about things that I cannot control. And that has been huge for me. As I might have mentioned, I think I mentioned earlier, the concept of safe place. For me, I'm really trying to acknowledge that God is my safe place. My family's not. It's great to love your family and want to be around your family, but I think I need to find nourishment from Him. I can't be looking to my family to fill me. I need to look to God because He's the only source, in my opinion. And finally, I want to share with you one last thing. It's easy to see God's perfect workmanship in a child. This verse is, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Jesus Christ so we can do the good things He has planned for us long ago." And it's easy to see God's workmanship in a baby. It's so obvious. You know, anybody can see that. I think even the atheists could look at a baby and go, there's got to be something more to it. But so those perfect little toes, knees, and ears. But I encourage you to take a minute now and try and envision that verse etched on a picture of you. Masterpiece. I'm betting many of us struggle with that concept and can hardly, if at all, bring that image to mind, but try. And notice the emotion that it brings. Does it bring peace, comfort, confidence in God's great work in you? Or does it bring doubt, disgust, sadness, or shame? Why do I bring this up? Because we have now made a plan of action for how we desire to take care of ourselves. But if we cannot view ourselves the way the Creator views us, we will not follow through with this plan. I personally have even struggled with the concept that I'm allowed to love myself. Isn't that pride? But think back to the response you had when you envisioned your image with that verse. Now imagine someone you loved deeply having that same response. Would you let them stay in that place? So why would you stay there? Why would you allow yourself to believe the lies that you are anything less than a masterpiece? So now, how do you take care of a masterpiece? Let's go back to the picture in the front of your workbook. Imagine that that cup is you, and you are a fine piece of china that has been carefully hand-painted with love for a purpose. What will you fill this cup with? So that's where I will leave it at this week or today. Yeah, thank you for listening to me share my heart. I hope that you will take this and put it into action. Like I said, this is my passion. You know, as I said, like I really feel like the stuff that I have dealt with is not, you know, it feels like it's worth it when I can use it to help others. And so I hope that you can take this, you know, I don't care if you totally redo it and do your own thing, but to make it your own. That would actually be phenomenal if you would make it your own and make it work for you. But yeah, I would just really encourage you to fill your cup. So thank you. That's actually a mineral, and or not a essential mineral, yes. And actually I was going to print, and I think I have it on the computer, and I can pull that up actually. Sulfurzyme is phenomenal. I am going to stop the recording. Thanks everyone for joining us.